and welcome to this massive fantasy book haul. I cannot believe I have so many books here to go over with you guys. Since there's a long list, we should probably hurry up and get right into it. So the first book here that we have is The Sword of Kagan by M.L. Wang. And this is a story about a powerful group of warriors and fighters that basically live right next to this empire and basically work with the empire to take care of them. And we have our main character who is part of the family of these warriors, and for some reason he is forced into becoming a warrior before he is ready. I believe he's at like 14 years old when something goes down and he's all like, okay, I need to take up the sword and save the empire. And in the process he finds out that the system isn't quite what he thought, and there might be some corruption in the empire and or in the organization that they're a part of. So this one is chunky, but I've seen good things about it and I do hope that I end up enjoying it. Next up we have The Atlas 6 by Olive Blake. And I'm sure you may have seen this on booktubes already. This is a dark academia fantasy about a secret organization that I guess several people want to get into, and we have 6 contestants who are working towards making it in, but only 5 of them will manage it. I have no clue exactly how that's going to work out. I don't know if they are fighting to the death. I don't know what it is. It's supposed to be very academic, so I'm assuming it's not to the death. But it does say on the back, secrets, betrayal, seduction, power. Welcome to the Alexandrian Society. So I heard good things. I'm excited about this one for sure. If you're interested in seeing a dark academia vlog soon, let me know, because I think this is happening. So the next 3 are actually all part of a trilogy. All of these are by Brandon Sanderson. For my birthday, I actually got The Hero of Ages, which is book 3 in the Mistborn trilogy by my family, and I was really excited, but I didn't have any of the other books. So I went ahead and bought Mistborn from the Mistborn trilogy, which is the first book in the series, and I got this for myself so that I could read it. And then I still had the middle book on my wish list, so my stepdad ended up getting me The Well of Ascension for my birthday, which is the second book. This is actually a series that I've read the first book, so I've read Mistborn before several years ago, and I ended up really enjoying it. I felt like it was so satisfying on its own, though, that I never kind of continued with the trilogy. So in this one, we have a world that has allomancy as a magic, which basically is if you consume certain metals, you can do certain things. And most people can only do certain things. They are only attuned to a certain metal or something like that. But we have these 2 people who I believe are able to span all of the metals and can do quite a lot. And there is a very corrupt emperor, I believe, and a very unfortunate system in this world. There is basically slavery and very big caste difference between the rich and the poor. And so basically we have a kind of high situation of this group trying to, what are they trying to do? I don't know. They're trying to do something big and they work together to overcome the circumstances. I don't fully remember. It was fantastic though. I'm excited to reread it. This is actually the November Besties Book Club pick for the channel Besties, so I'm super excited. I'm gonna reread it, annotate it, and have a good time. So if you want to join us, you can become a Besties, just saying. But yeah, I'm so happy to have the whole trilogy and read these for the first time. Hopefully the whole thing is good. Now, a lot of the books that I have here are by POC authors. Next we have She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. This one is another epic fantasy type book. It says destinies comes to those who dare. I actually do not remember much about the premise for this one, so we're actually gonna read a little bit of the inner flap. It says, to possess the mundane of heaven, the monk Zoo will do anything. I refuse to be nothing. In a famine-stricken village on a dusty yellow plain, 2 children are given 2 fates. A boy, greatness, a girl, nothingness. In 1345, China lies under harsh Mongol rule. For the starving peasants of the Central Plains, greatness is something found only in stories. When the Zoom family's 8th-born son is given a fate of greatness, everyone is mystified as to how it will come to pass. Then a bandit attacks and orphans the 2 children, and Zhu succumbs to despair and dies. So desperate to escape her own fated death, the girl uses her brother's identity to enter a monastery as a young male novice. There, propelled by her burning desire to survive, Zhu learns she is capable of doing whatever it takes to stay hidden from her fate. Oh yeah, okay, I'm totally down. I love the idea of somebody stepping out of societal norms and basically proving that they are more than what society thinks them to be, and this definitely shows that. So super excited about this one. This one's gonna be good. Next up, we have 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. Hopefully I didn't haul this yet. I don't think I have, but this one I ended up getting a while ago. This haul is an accumulation over some time, just saying. And this one is about a girl who I believe her family ends up getting cursed. Please tell me I'm saying the right one. So a princess in exile, a shape-shifting dragon, 6 enchanted cranes, and an unspeakable curse. Correct, yeah. So she ends up, her family gets cursed, her brothers turn into cranes, and if she speaks, it will kill her brother. So she has to figure out a way to save her brothers without speaking. I don't know how specific that is, but that's the basic premise. And I'm super excited to see what it's all about because like, what? That's wild. How is she gonna get through that one? Did any of them die in the process? I don't know, we'll see. Next up, there's Promise of Shadows by Justina Ireland. And this is the same author who wrote Deathless Divide and Dread Nation, which is a favorite fantasy zombie apocalypse sort of historical novel that I ended up reading earlier this year. So when I found out that she had another book, I was on it. This one says, fear and rage settle deep into the middle. They cut through me, and I sense my darkness rising up, answering the call of my panic. It's just like the night I killed Rumin Mar, but this time the darkness is different. It feels like a living thing, an old friend who has just been waiting for the chance to help. Without even calling it, my darkness rises. It shrouds me in reassurance. I welcome the confidence it brings. It feels like I can do anything with the darkness at my side. Now, I believe that there's something about her murdering somebody, and I think there's werewolves. I'm pretty sure this is like a werewolf romance story with apparently a lot of other stuff because it doesn't say anything about the romance. Okay, so it sounds like she's an assassin, her sister is killed, and there's a forbidden dark power that she has to use to save herself from the same fate. And now she's on the run, and there's things happening, and there's a power balance, and how is she supposed to save everyone when she can't even save herself? I don't know. I'm confused because I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be like werewolf-y things, but I don't know where I got that, so I could be totally wrong. I'm still super excited though because I love her writing. Fingers crossed that I enjoy this one. Next up, we have another series. I think this is a duology. It's Mirage and Court of Lions by Samoya Dwad. I hope I didn't butcher that. I really do. And this one says, the crown of Dihaya has been stripped from me. My face changed, my body broken, but I was not a slave and I was not a spare. I was my mother's daughter, and I would survive and endure. I would find my way back home. A smart, romantic, exciting debut by a rare talent. So we've got a brutal empire and an 18-year-old dreamer, dreaming of life before all of the stuff that's going on, and that she will someday have a adventure. I guess this is one of those situations where she wants to branch out, have her own adventure, and all of that. Of course, when that adventure finally happens, it is not what she expects. She's kidnapped, and she's taken to the palace, where she finds out she looks very similar to the royal princess. So she is forced to be her body double. Okay, new role, new adventure, new things going on. Excited to get around to reading this and see what it's all about. Apparently, that's what we're gonna say here for all of the books because I am excited. That's why I bought them. I guess we're on the same page now, right? Next up, we have Fire with Fire by Destiny Soria. We have two sisters who are supposed to kill dragons. One of them is all like, yes, this is my life's purpose. And the other one's like, I just want to live a normal life. Like, do we have to? Like, I'll do this, but can I go and be a teenager? But they both believe when it comes to dragons that it's either kill or be killed. That is until one of them actually meets a dragon and forges a bond. And obviously there's gonna be some tension between these sisters. So yeah, that seems like a fun time. I love the idea of stories where you have something that's kind of like shunned by society, whether it be dragons or whatever, and then you have somebody in said society who realizes all like, hey, maybe not all dragons are bad. So I think this is going to be a good one. Excited to see what it's about, and I think it's a standalone, so that's always a plus. The next book we have is An Arrow to the Moon by Emily XR Pan. So far, all of these except Mistborn have been by POC authors, which again, I'm trying to get more POC authors and books on my shelves to balance things out. So I'm feeling good. But this one, Melissa Albert says this luminous love story cuts deep to the bone. A Romeo and Juliet meets Chinese mythology. So we have one character who is haunted by his family's past. The only things keeping him from running away are his little brother, a supernatural wind, and the bewitching girl at his new high school. She, on the other hand, dreads the future. Graduation looms ahead and her parents' expectations are stifling. When she begins to break the rules, she finds her life upended by the strange new boy in her class, the arrival of unearthly fireflies, and an ominous crack spreading across the town of Fairbridge. Yeah, so this seems fun. There's more to it. Seems like a good time. Little romance with a little bit of a fantasy twist. I think this will be good. Then we have Spin the Dawn and Unravel the Dusk, also by Elizabeth Lim. This is, as far as I'm aware, a story about a tournament sort of thing where you are supposed to fashion garments for the Empire or something along those lines, and our main character is a seamstress that ends up in this tournament, but there are some things that end up happening, making it a lot more complicated. I ended up getting both of the books. Obviously, the second one was on sale, and I was all like, you know what? Let's do this. I have seen some mixed reviews on this one, but hopefully I'm gonna enjoy it and have a good time because it seems interesting. It seems kind of cool. Like, what is this whole premise? It's like, what is that show? The sewing runway show? I don't watch TV. This is a clear indication that I don't know what I'm talking about, but I used to watch that where you would have all of these seamstresses go head to head to make runway outfits or whatever. I'm sure there's more than just that, but like that seems like fun. Like it seems like it's gonna be a fun time. I'm excited to see what it's all about, and obviously it's gonna get fantastical, interesting, and epic, and how that's gonna happen, I don't know. Who knows? Let's find out. Our next book is a Master of Jinn by Peter Jelly Clark, which if you have been watching me for a while, you know I love his writing. One of my favorite books that I read recently was his novella Ring Shout, which is a horror novella where the Ku Klux Klan are actual monsters and you've got these black monster hunters trying to take them down, and it's fantastic. So I wanted to finally read a full-length novel from him since the only two books that I've read so far are novellas. Let's see if I can enjoy the magic that is his writing in a longer form novel, but I have no clue what this is all about. So we have a character who is the youngest woman working for the Ministry of Alchemy, Enchantments, and Supernatural Entities, but she's not a rookie, because last summer she ended up preventing the destruction of the universe. Yeah, those are some pretty high stakes. Of course, when someone starts murdering the members of this secret brotherhood, she gets called in to kind of help, even though she is, again, the youngest and kind of new to this whole situation, but with a very loaded past. Yeah, and there apparently is a lot of like magical abilities that is involved in this whole thing and this whole past, and the murderer claiming some bold statements and saying that they're coming to condemn the actions, and it seems to be this intense, epic, magical fantasy, which I'm excited to see. I will tell you more. I really want to read this though, because I love his writing, and I hope that I enjoy this. Next up, we have Zodiac Academy: The Awakening by Charlene Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. And I've heard some pretty mixed things about this. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people are like, it's great, but it's cheesy and kind of bad, but I'm like here for the ride. I admittedly only got this to use for my A through Z challenge for 2022, because I'm trying to read a book title with each. And this is the only thing that I had seen recently that kind of fit the bill for Z. And hopefully I enjoy the process of reading it, even if I don't enjoy it, because I know there's mixed feelings. There's a lot going on with this book. I don't know much about it. I think it's a dark romance about people at this academy, and there's like magical elements, fantasy elements, and then there's all kinds of questionable romance situations and perhaps not the most acceptable situations. Like, I'm pretty sure the love interests are shit. Like, they're terrible. I want to see what it's about. I am intrigued. Hopefully I enjoyed enough to finish it so I can use it for the challenge. That's really the reason why we're reading this. And if you have any other suggestions, just in case, let me know. Any good books that starts with Z, let me know. Then we have Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. Now, I ended up ordering the sequel to this from one of the fancy special edition book boxes places, and because of that, I was like, you know, I should probably get the first book too. I haven't gotten it yet. I'm supposed to get it next month, November. This month, when you see this, haha, yeah. The secret's out of the bag. But yeah, I don't know too much about it. It does sound pretty fascinating. Once Upon a Broken Heart. Never make a deal with fate. Yes, those are words to live by. So we have somebody who used to believe in the happily ever after, but the love of her life is supposed to be marrying somebody else, and I guess that like breaks her dreams or whatever. So she decides she wants to stop the wedding. And so she makes a deal with the Wicked Prince of Hearts. In exchange for his help, he asks for 3 kisses, and he gets to determine when and where she does those kisses, and she has to do it. And obviously he is wicked, so he picks some terrible times for her to have to do these kisses. I don't know if it's going to be like a romance between her and this wicked prince or whatever, but it does seem like it's gonna be weird and interesting and fun. Hopefully we have a good time, you know? Like I've said so many times already. I want to enjoy these books, okay? But yeah, that's this one. Next up we have Gingerbread by Helen Oyemi, and I think it's a like modern fantasy sort of situation where we have this family who ends up going into this apartment where there is some sort of access to a world or people or something that's kind of like the Hansel and Gretel sort of situation. So Gretel apparently is kind of the negative of her life, and years later, after some things go down, we're reliving some events that took place at this location. Now, I was really excited to get this. This author in general was recommended to me, but I recently tried reading another one of her books. If you saw my horror book haul, I ended up trying to read White is for Witching, and I hated it. I hated the writing style. It was so confusing. It was so unnecessary. So I'm gonna be honest with with you, I am so nervous about this one. I'm still gonna give it a shot. I'm also probably gonna give White is for Witching another shot as well, because there were some things that I do enjoy about the writing, but I hated it at the same time. Maybe this one's different, maybe not. We'll see. I will let you know when I do get around to reading this, which is probably gonna be a long time because I imagine I'm gonna put this one off, not gonna lie. Then we have Gods of Jade and Shadow. This is a book that I ended up reading earlier this year. I had the library copy and I finally decided we are going to get the actual copy. This is from Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I love her writing. I loved the story. I'm not a huge fan of the cover art, but I wanted it so bad. So eventually I bit the bullet and I got this from Book of the Month. So this story is about a girl who isn't treated the best in her family. She's kind of just treated as a maid basically, and she has crappy older sibling, crappy grandfather. First she's just trying to get by, but she really wants to go off and have her own adventure, and that ends up happening one day when she least expects it, because she ends up getting tied to a god and brought into a battle between gods and has to help him or die in the process because of their tie. And I loved it. I don't think this is an absolutely phenomenal written book or anything. I actually think it's maybe a little bit cheesy in some ways, but I loved it. I loved everything about it, and I really want to reread it someday because I had such a good time. So I'm glad I finally have the book to keep on my shelves. Next up, we have The Bones of Ruin by Sarah Rogley. And this one I think is about a traveling like circus performer situation. And we have a character who keeps dying, right? So it talks about her slipping, falling, and being caught by the crowd, but the force of her fall snaps her neck and she has died again. Dum dum dum. Apparently there's some interesting things. The world has ended before and it'll end again. As an African tightrope dancer in Victorian London, hey, Iris is used to being strange. She is certainly a strange sight for a leering British audience, always eager for the spectacle of colonial curiosity. But Iris also has a secret that every strange doesn't capture. She cannot die. So it sounds like there's an upcoming apocalypse. There's some leader who is trying to deal with some things. She's gonna have to help some people. And if she wants to learn about her past, she must fight. Yeah, so it sounds like there's a lot going on. A tournament, apocalypse, rebels, a lot. But I'm super excited. I think that's a pretty cool premise. I like the time period. I like the idea of a historical novel that focuses on the Black experience, but hopefully not in a super negative way. Like obviously she has a job, she's doing things, she's not like a slave or a maid. I think that's an interesting twist on the normal historical stories. So yeah, really excited to see how this plays out. I want to bump this up on my TBR. I want to read this sooner rather than later. Next up, we have Kai Kiai by Vaishavni Patel. And this is a story about gods and expectations. It says, I was born on the full moon under the auspicious constellation, the holiest of positions. Much good it did me. We do have a character, and it says she's desperate for independence. She turns to the text once read with her mother and discovers a magic that is hers alone. With it, she transforms herself from an overlooked princess into a warrior, diplomat, and most favored queen. But an evil from her childhood comes and threatens her, and she must decide if resistance is worth the destruction it will wreak, and what legacy she intends to leave behind. I've heard of good things about this, and I really want to see what it's all about, get really into it, and have a good time! Let's be honest! We are approaching the finish line here, so we have Star Daughter next by Shavita Thakrar, and we have our main character who has an intense secret that has put her into hiding. And when her 17th birthday comes, she ends up losing control because she has some magical powers, and when she loses control, she ends up seriously hurting her human father, an injury only a full star's blood can heal. So she has no choice but to answer the star song and ascend to the sky. Her celestial family has another purpose for her because there is a competition that is happening and she needs to beat it for her family, become the ruling house or something along those lines. So she's desperate to save her father. So she agrees to this, but of course nothing can prepare her to face the star's dark history or the forces that are working to shut the gate between the realms for good. Dum dum dum. Okay, I didn't realize how like celestial in nature the story of this is. That's totally up my alley. Excited to see what that is all about. And I do want to read more books about kind of like competitions and stuff because I think that is an interesting concept. I hear a lot of people who absolutely love them, but I haven't really experienced it much, so I don't really know. I don't know if it's my thing or not. So hopefully it is, because this seems like it could be a fun time. And I love the cover. I love a lot of these covers. I should have been like calling them out because there's some beautiful art on these books for sure. Next up, we have The Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport. And this one is an adult fantasy. I actually don't know how many adult fantasies are in this mix. A lot of them are YA fantasy, but this one is not. And I want to call that out because apparently a lot of people see this cover and are like, YA. It gets dark, I guess. Dark, gruesome, maybe sexy. I don't know. But it was more than what people were expecting. So we have in this one, I think it's like a family, and one of them was a captain, a person of importance who ends up betraying something or some other, and she ends up getting a bad name because of her father, I think. And then she wants to try and join the army or the resistance or something or other, and she has to do the trials. Obviously people are like, you're your father's daughter? I don't know about that. So it ends up being a really rough time, I think. But yeah, this one seems intense. I really want to read it. I really hope I enjoy it. I imagine it's going to be a lot, especially from some of the things that I have heard. And apparently it's just a duology. So that's always a good sign. I love shorter fantasy series because I'm not out here trying to read 12 books. You know, you feel me? So yeah, I am excited to read this and take you guys along for the journey because I tend to vlog most of the things that I read, which takes me to the last set of books. We have a trilogy here, one that is highly beloved here on BookTube. I'm sure you know what it is already, or you may have seen it, I don't know, but that is Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and I ended up going big, go home. I got the entire trilogy. I may or may not have hauled this before, but these are new. So I had this and I was like, I want to read it, but I want to read them all together for maybe like a vlog or something. So I got the other ones. Sue me, okay? I like books, okay? But yeah, I really do hope I enjoy this. Everybody and their mama has been talking about how much they love the Poppy War, and I want to see, is it really worth the hype? Is it that great? Is it not? I do tend to go into highly hyped books with a little bit of a low expectation because, you know, it gets so hyped that you're like, it can't be as good as everybody's saying. It probably isn't, but I'm still excited regardless. So apparently R.F. Kuang is really good at creating a fantasy world inspired by real life events. She does a lot of research. She does this. So this is this epic story filled with political intrigue and just epic stakes and all kinds of stuff. And it starts with a girl who isn't in the best of circumstances. I think she's an orphan and she is currently being fostered by some unpleasant people who are hoping to just marry her off and sell her to some husband or whatever for their own wicked gains. But instead, she manages to make it into a prestigious warrior academy, and everybody's super surprised by this, like including her. Then we follow her in her journey at this War Academy, and it turns out that she ends up having a magical gift that she's able to use to get an advantage, and there's going to be a lot of things that happen, and I think she has to help save the empire, and in the process she finds out more about the god who has chosen her, the vengeful phoenix. and she fears that winning the war may cost her her humanity, and it may already be too late. So that sounds exciting and epic, and just in general, I've been wanting to read, like, come on. If you've been around and you like fantasy, I'm sure you've seen them too. Who doesn't want to know what this is all about? So hopefully I enjoy it. Hopefully I have a good time, especially because I bought the whole series. Like, maybe that was a mistake, but here we are. And that's it. As usual, all of the books are linked down below in the description if you're interested in grabbing them yourself. If you've made it this far, include a fire emoji, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, bye. Whew, man, I have a problem. This is a lot of books.